welcome everyone to an In Conversation with the Experts by Experience. Thank you all so much for giving your time to share your work, the work of the group with us. And I know you're at the Centre for Applied Dementia Studies over at the University of Bradford. My name is Emma Smith. I'm the project manager with Empowered Conversations, and that's a project of Age UK Salford. I know we've been sort of chatting and telling people where we're all at, but are you okay to sort of go around the screen and just introduce yourself, where you are, and maybe your involvement with the experts? Is that okay? Yeah, brilliant. Jackie, just because you're in Stockport and you're dead close to me, I will start with you if that's okay.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I live in Stockport near Manchester, and I am involved with the Experts by Experience in Bradford, and I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and vascular dementia, and I like art.
Thank you, Jackie. And Jackie, you're like amazing. If ever I put anything on Twitter, you're the first person to share it out and like it. So like, yay, I've got my fan club in. So thank you so much for introducing yourself, Jackie. Julie, can I come to you next, if that's okay?
Yeah, sure. I live not far from Bradford, in Halifax, in West Yorkshire. And I've been involved with the Experts by Experience for the past over 6 years now, which is, I was diagnosed in May 2017 at the age of 54.
Thank you, Julie. Dr. Michael, over to you.
Now, mine's actually a strange one, because there's actually two Experts by Experience at Bradford. There's the dementia side, and then there's the health services. Well, I actually work with both of them. Now, I was diagnosed with a rare form of dementia, PCA dementia, in June 2017. And the accent will throw you, but I live in Bradford.
Coming through as a strong Yorkshire accent to me.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much. And Claire.
Hiya, yeah, I'm Claire Mason. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Bradford in the Centre for Applied Dementia Studies, and I deliver training in all aspects of dementia care, but I'm also the Experts by Experience lead. So I get the best of both worlds. So I get to work with people that work in contact, direct contact with people living with dementia, but also people with dementia and family members as well. So yeah, and I don't really like to talk about, that I lead the group, because we see our group as very much a we thing. So we are all part of the group. Yeah, so I'm really lucky.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claire. And would one of you just introduce Ronald, because he is part of this and we will get him on at some point. So, oh, we've lost Jackie. Gonna be one of those.
We're gremlins today. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind introducing him. So Ronald lives in Luton, and he's one of our valued Experts by Experience. And for anybody that saw us present at Dementia Congress, he was the person that got us all changing mindsets. So Ronald had us all chanting, changing mindsets, and he really livened everybody up at the UK Dementia Congress. So
it was fantastic, and just like really casual about it, like getting a whole room of people chanting. Like, I'm just going to get you all chanting, but in a casual way.
I know.
So for anyone that hasn't been to one of these webinars before, we do them on quite a regular basis. We like to have people with lived experience, professionals and researchers on to share their work and practice, to get us all thinking broader and nudge sort of change for us all. So as I said, I work for Empowered Conversations. We deliver communication courses across Greater Manchester for family caregivers of people with dementia. And we have two courses. We have Empowered Conversations and Moving Beyond Words. We also offer one-to-one therapeutic support for family caregivers, and we do these webinars on quite a regular basis. So that's who we are. If at any point today, honestly, if at any point today you want to ask a question, you should be able to see a little speech bubble with a question mark in it. So pop your question in there and we will pick it up. So our plan today is really to find out more about experts by experience, and who better to ask than the experts. So Claire, will you give us a bit of background behind this piece of work and this group?
Yeah, well, the group is actually over 150 people living with dementia and their family unpaid carers. People live across the UK, and it started off as a really small panel of people, and we asked people what they wanted in terms of how they wanted to be involved in the work of the Centre for Applied Dementia Studies, and people said that they wanted to be a group. So we started having regular socials, and people, really got to know each other and learn about each other's dementia or how it affected family members. And then people get sent opportunities to get involved in different aspects of our work, whether that's in dementia research, as co-investigators or participants, whether that's in dementia training. So myself and colleagues, we deliver a lot of training, and I know that everybody on this call, in terms of our experts by experience, has been involved in our training. Julie has at the moment got a lovely case study that she's written about her experience of living with dementia, and students on that training course answer questions about that. Jackie's presented with us, and so has Michael. And then people also get involved in our education, and that's what we've most recently been doing is working on a brand new module which sits as part of our Masters in Advanced Dementia Studies. And the module's been co-created by 24 of us, so 22 people living with dementia and 2 members of Centre for Applied Dementia Studies staff. So one of those is myself, and then our Dr. Danielle Jones, who is one of the module leaders on the course as well. So it's part of the Masters in Advanced Dementia Studies.
Wow. You've answered a lot of my questions, but we can dig into them a little bit more. Can I just ask why did you set up the experts by experience? Was it, what was that responding to?
I think for a long time, for people that don't know about the Centre for Applied Dementia Studies, it was originally founded by Tom Kitwood, Professor Tom Kitwood, who was a pioneer, in person-centred care. And it was originally called Bradford Dementia Group when Tom founded the group. And then it changed to School of Dementia Studies. And then more recently, we've become the Centre for Applied Dementia Studies. And there's a really well-known phrase, isn't there, in the field of dementia care, and it's nothing about us without us. And, we truly believe in that we cannot teach and talk about dementia without involving, but not just involving, working closely and collaborating with people that live with dementia or care and support somebody living with dementia. Who better to learn about dementia from than people that are actually experiencing it themselves?
That's brilliant. Thank you. Oh, Julie.
And for me, a perfect example of that in my own life has been the fact that I was originally a nurse, and so cared for people professionally there who had dementia. And then later on, I went to be a social worker in older people's care. And various members of my family, including both my parents, had dementia. And so I had a certain understanding of the condition and appreciation, but the realities of how dementia is lived each day only really came to me when I actually got the condition myself. You only actually find out what it's like because you hear so much and you read a certain amount. But when you actually get the diagnosis yourself and you find out what it's like internally to live with it and how you have to adjust to the growing disabilities and challenges that you come across. And also you learn from your peers like Michael, like Jackie, about what are the best ways to deal with those challenges, and how to better navigate your life through those experiences. Hi again, Jackie.
Thank you for that, Julie. So it sounds like the peer support that you get from Experts by Experience is massive for you. And Jackie's nodding. I just wondered, when you got involved, what was it that made you think, I want to be part of that group? And that's to anybody really, apart from Claire, because it's a job.
Did you want to come in, Michael?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I'd never heard of it. Mine was actually through the diagnosis of dementia because I was in a bad place. And then it was the person would give me the diagnosis, called me in and said, "Look, there's research taking place between Bradford University and Sheffield University, and it's called Journeying Through Dementia. Would you be interested in taking part in it?" But that got me in a day centre, and I absolutely hated going to it because there were people with more advanced dementia, and I thought I shouldn't be in here. So that's why I straight away I didn't even ask him what this was. I just said, "You sign me up for it." And then it was Claire come to talk to us, and then that's how I started getting involved with Experts by Experience. And then I actually started craving it because I found I was actually it was benefiting me because I was actually learning stuff. You were getting involved with other people with dementia. And I call it, I know it's a terrible thing to say, people with dementia, but I called it picking their brains. So I would find out what works for them. And then I would tweak it. I would say, oh, that might work for me, but I might have to tweak it or make it, adapt it or make changes with it. And they were doing the same with me. So it's actually, to me, it's beneficial. Experts by experience. We actually learn from each other.
Because my first experience with Bradford was just after I was diagnosed, and there was a research project taking place called the Angela Project, and that was specifically looking at young onset. So having got involved in that, then following on from that, I got introduced to the Experts by Experience group and got involved in so much more.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Julie. So there's an obvious sort of connection. You're over in Yorkshire. It sounds like everyone's knowing there's something going on at Bradford. Let's get involved in that. Right. So then we come to Jackie, who's in Stockport, not Bradford. So Jackie, before you leave us, you're going to have to be quick with your answer. How did you find out about this group and how did you get involved?
I think I had an email from Claire, or there was something from Claire, and at the bottom it said, if you'd like to join Experts by Experience, please get hold of her, and that's what I did.
And is it a group that meets on quite a regular basis?
Well, when I joined, it went into COVID. So I was always on Zoom with everybody. And then when
Oh,
Oh,
Jackie, we're
Oh.
losing you, Jackie. Someone pick up the thread. So when we were in COVID, did you meet more regularly? Was it a lifesaver for you? Yeah, Julie.
I think the difference between when COVID came in is that kind of, it sounds awful to say one of the good sides of that, but like the experts by experience are quite local initially, but when it went into lockdown and we were online, lots more people joined us from a much wider area, so right across the country. So we're getting people from up in Scotland, people from right down on the south coast. And so now that's how come we've got so many more people involved in the work that we do. And so, which is great because it means that the much wider range of experience of different dementias and people from different backgrounds, different social backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, that we can be including in the work. And so it becomes much more relevant to the wider subject of living with dementia.
Definitely sound. I mean, if you've got a group, is it 150, Claire, you've got in the group?
Yeah. I mean, some people are more active than others. But yeah, there's over 150 registered, and people dip in and out as they want. You know, there's no pressure to take part in anything. So some people, particularly the people on the call today, are, you know, really generous. Not that other people are not, but, you know, they're frequently involved in things. And then some people, so I recently put a call out asking for Christmas card designs and you know, winter artwork, and I got inundated from some people that we'd not heard from for a long time. So you know, we're currently putting together the winter newsletter, and we're going to showcase some of the artwork, and we display it here in the university. So that was lovely, because people, you know, have obviously not been kind of taken by some of the other opportunities, but they wanted to share their artwork. And I think that showcases that people with dementia, you know, can do lots of different things. They've got lots of skills, lots of abilities.
And what I like about that is the choice. So it comes out, there's no obligation on you to get involved if you don't want to. But if something comes along that tickles your fancy and you're like, yes, actually, I'm really good at drawing Christmas cards, I'm going to send that in, or whatever it is. And then you can get involved.
I'd hate to think that people felt pressured to take part in anything. So they've always got, we send out the opportunities by email. Sometimes we advertise them on the DEEP website, so the Dementia Engagement and Empowerment Project, or send round things in different, you know, outlets, so GP surgeries, things like that, other newsletters. But we always make sure people know that they can either reply and say yes, they can reply and say no, or they can ignore it completely and nobody will fall out with them for doing that.
Fantastic. So you talked in your introduction, Claire, you mentioned that people have been involved in creating courses, and I'm just looking to Michael and Julie to see, have you been involved in creating courses? Because it's going to help my next question.
Well, it's the one Claire mentioned, the master's degree. So the 22 with dementia and then 2 from the university. So 24 in total. So it's basically from the very start. So it was just like a clog turning in their brain. How could we do this? And we were involved from the very start. It did throw me at the very start because I thought, what do I know about designing a module for a master's degree? But then when it was all explained, it's as if everything just started to fall in place. And the thing is that not the best way? Because the best way for people to learn about it is through people what's actually living with it. Because if say they were doing a degree, they're taking it from stuff which already been written, maybe, oh goodness knows how many years ago. But things change. So this is from actual people living it now.
Thank you, Michael. Do you think people seek out this masters? They're like, wait a minute, you know, I could do a masters here, I could do a masters there, but if I go to Bradford, actually I'm doing a masters that's been co-produced by experts by experience, by people who are living with dementia and know the challenges of that. Do you think people come to the masters for that reason?
I think that Bradford over the years have built up such a good reputation, and especially through the way that they work so co-productively with us. And now, just recently, Bradford has been accredited by the Alzheimer's Disease International as a centre of excellence. But it's very much a case of that because they work so co-productively and the people who put into the module, which is the first one in the UK to be written by people with dementia at this level of study, and people have not only just come up with things like the input of the module, but also the whole design of it, so that those who maybe felt they could only put in a certain amount of academic input, but felt that actually they could use their artistic skills to illustrate, to demonstrate, and to promote the actual module that was produced. So different people's skills have all been put together and consolidated into the same piece of work.
Wow.
But
I mean,
I did notice, I don't know if Julie's noticed it, when we were actually teaching, there are actually people what's involved with people with dementia.
Mm.
So I actually think they're learning, you know, from us, they're learning how it affects us. So they're not sitting down and reading it. They're actually talking to us and getting it word to word, you know, face to face from us. I actually think that has more of an impact if you talk to somebody than it does if you read it.
and a wider impact, Michael. So if they're not only learning it, but they're living, they're you know, they're affected by dementia, and actually they're taking the learning from you to how they're supporting their family member or their friend who's living with dementia. So the whole impact just becomes bigger and bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I've no idea how long that would take to write a module for a master's. It's not like let's just do it in an hour session, is it? That's a decent amount of graft that's gone into that module.
Well, I think what were we doing? Was it 2 years?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, we're tweaking it because as we're delivering the module and getting feedback from the group, getting feedback from students, we're learning ourselves. You know, my colleague, Danielle, who the group worked with, you know, she's a lecturer anyway. She's an associate professor, and you know, she had the skills in knowing about learning outcomes and knowing about module design. So I particularly have learned from her, and I think the whole group have. But I think Julie was right that it was really sort of building on a multiple of skills rather than just one person. You know, we've all kind of learned from each other, and yeah, we keep tweaking it as we go along based on, you know, what we say as a group, what the students say, and so next year it hopefully will be even better. So
are other universities coming to you and going, wait a minute, Bradford, what are you doing there? Because that looks really special, and can we do some of it? Are you getting other universities or from around the world just interested in this way of working? Because it feels like it's the way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had quite a bit of contact from other universities, and you know, people in other universities are doing now, trying to do similar things, but what the brilliant thing we've realised is that they're aiming it at slightly different audiences. So at first, I must admit, we were slightly worried, thinking, crikey, are we going to be duplicating, our other university is going to duplicate what we're doing? Will that dilute it? Actually, what it's done is complement what we've done. Because as I said, there are a couple of other modules in different universities that when they go live, they will be aimed at, different people working in the health social care sector, or people that are members of the public, or people that are in leadership roles. So I think it's going to be a great, it can only benefit people with dementia and their families, as well as those that work with them.
Absolutely. And what we also did was we worked on the MSc module together, but at the same time, the work that we did, we also used some of that work to produce a series of short courses, so that people who either weren't interested in doing a full MSc or couldn't afford to do a full MSc could kind of take little sections of the work targeted particularly at what they were involved in, and we called those short courses 50 Shades of Dementia, and so people can pick and choose those very segmented, focused areas of dementia to be looking at.
Well, there is another thing out of it too, because one of the big things was communication, language, assumptions. But now, because of doing that there, I've now got the confidence to go to the other part of experts experience. And that's what I was doing last week, was talking to radiographers about communication skills, language, how to talk to somebody with dementia. And then they actually liked it, so they've asked me to come back tomorrow and do another one. So it's all through learning about communication and language and assumptions.
Michael, you're putting the hours in.
I'll tell you, all that's missing now is they haven't quite got around to giving him a put-up bed in the university. But that's just around the corner.
A tent.
Michael's office over there. Julie, you said it, so I'm going to ask the question. You've gone with 50 Shades of Dementia. It's not your standard academic title for a course. So obviously, who came up with that name? And was it challenged, or were you like, no, that is the perfect name?
Well, it was kind of a group thing, I think, wasn't it, Claire?
Yeah.
And within those individual courses, the mini courses, we tried to come up with catchy titles that would really draw people in. So you're going to have to help me, guys, with what some of those names were.
I think you're too young to have dementia, not.
And it's not it's not what you do, it's the way that you do it.
Yeah. There's another one where Michael's playing a flute on the flyer, and it's something like absolutely something or other. Yeah.
What was it? Absolutely amazing.
That's it. Yeah. So we actually had a competition for experts by experience to choose the titles, and if their title was chosen, then they got a free place on one of the courses. So we've actually got people with dementia attending some of the courses as well as course participants, so I think that the great thing for me is that the university have kind of been a bit daring, so we did want to use the 50 Shades of Dementia title for the master's module, but obviously, as you said, it's got to fit with an academic kind of remit. You've got learning outcomes to set, and the course title has got to be sent to the boards, and we knew that wouldn't get past the the rigorous kind of processes. So we did use that for the suite of short courses, as Julie said, and then the group came up with understanding the me in dementia, even to the, we then, I know that Danielle, my colleague, typed it out and we sent it back to the group and said, this is what you've come up with. Is this what you mean? Is this right? She always checked in with them. And even down to Michael saying, oh no, I can't read it if you put it in capitals, because we had the me in the middle of the word dementia in capitals. So she changed that, and I think we had it as red, and then they said, no, we can't see red. So we changed it again, and it was very much we send it out, the group critique it, they bat it back to us, we change it. And it was a real kind of group back and forth, confirming it, amending it, changing it, improving it.
Well, the thing is that the like of my dementia PCA, so my vision's going to be different from somebody else's. So it's no good coming up with something with somebody. It's going to work for one person with dementia and not work for another person. So you have to actually design it where everybody can understand it. So that's why there was a lot of tweaking and changing, and but we finally got there.
We did in the end. But that again is another thing that was beautiful about it, is that you all were so generous with your feedback and your comments, and you dared to say it instead of just saying to us, oh yeah, that's great. You told us the truth, and that's what's made it honest, and that's what's made it more meaningful, that you didn't just go along with what we came up with. We sent it back to you, said, is this what you meant? And you said, no. No, it's not. And we changed it again.
I think all power to Claire and to Dee for the way they worked with us, because I know right at the beginning of because we're doing a lot of the work, well, we're doing the work online, and right at the start, when we had the majority of the people seeing us on a Zoom call, so it was all these people on this screen with tiny little squares everywhere. And what we said from that first meeting was, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work, because there's too many people on screen at the same time. There's no way that all these people can get the opportunity to have input and to feed back to you. So you're going to have to work in breakout rooms and have it in a smaller group. Straight away, the second session, that's what Claire and Dee had organised, that they'd made those changes that we needed in order for us to be able to work and complete the actual work that was needed.
I mean, it really sounds like a partnership here. It's not like one person's in control. Yeah. It sounds like it's a real sort of spread amongst you all. You've all got a say, you've all got a voice, and that voice is listened to. There's an element of cheekiness in this as well, isn't it? This is a really, dementia is a serious issue, and it brings serious challenges to people's lives. But then you've got some humour in there and some cheekiness, and it sounds like the University of Bradford have sort of embraced that cheekiness and gone, yeah, okay, let's, we'll go with that title, and we'll go with Michael playing the flute. Yeah, we'll go, so tell us a bit about, because it feels like a bit of a culture change for a university to sort of embrace that level of cheekiness around such a strong, important disease. Tell me about the cheekiness.
I mean, the group are, as I said, they're very, very generous, with what they share and the time commitment that they gave to it. And, I think they appreciated as well that, some of it Dee and I would do sort of after our day job as well. I think we all just felt it and really embraced it. And, I learned, like I said, a lot from Dee, and she learned a lot from us and the group. And the more sessions we had, the more we got to know each other. So I remember once Michael sharing that he'd been, because he's got PCA dementia, which affects his vision. And he mentioned that as he was going down the stairs one morning, he saw lions and tigers and other animals, panthers. And Francis, who lives in the Brecon Beacons, who's also got PCA dementia, said to Michael, "Oh, I'm so jealous." And Dee, our lovely colleague, was absolutely, her mouth was a circle of shock. You know, she was like, "Oh my God." And she said afterwards to me, she said, "I just love that." She said, "That's been the highlight of my week, that the group, however serious dementia is, and it can be it can be a devastating diagnosis for many people, but we found humour in that group, and people, again, being generous enough to share quite intimate, personal, sometimes embarrassing stories. But we had such a lot of laughs along the way. And I think, again, that kind of gelled the group together.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to kind of, you have to, there's so much written about dementia and kind of out there in the media about it, which just concentrates on the seriousness and the downside. And we're not afraid to talk about all that stuff. We do on a regular basis. But what kind of keeps the balance going and allows us the ability to do that and to trust ourselves as a group of individuals is that we can talk about that stuff. We can also have a laugh and a joke together, because people with dementia are still people, and we still maintain our sense of humour. And Michael's one of our sort of group comedians. I mean, he keeps our spirits up all the time.
He's going to have his own stand-up comedy show.
Well, the thing is, I know dementia, it is a serious subject, but for me, if you make it serious, is people going to be interested? We're still a person. We've still got feelings. We've still got emotions. So if we bring in a bit of humor, a bit of laughter, does it not make us human? It shows that we're still that person.
Mm.
And also, I think that for people who have either themselves just been diagnosed or family members just been diagnosed, what you get at the beginning of your dementia journey is that you get told usually, "You've got dementia, nothing we can do about it, go away and get your end of life affairs in order." And there's no positivity usually given. So if you can be given hope that it's not all about end stage, that there is an awful lot to get out of life with having dementia, you can still give and receive so much out of life, so much positivity still to have, then that gives people hope to carry on, rather than thinking, "Well, that's it, my life is over." No, it isn't. That we, all of us, get so much out of the people that we've met along the way, that we work with at the university, but also, the other people with dementia that we've met. And it's just, there's just that, I think it gives people hope. If someone has that early diagnosis, they think, well, actually, I'd really be quite interested in getting involved with all this. And
Oh,
certainly myself, sorry, Michael,
no.
Myself, between the onset of severe symptoms and getting diagnosed, it was about between 5 and 6 years for me to get to that point. So I've been pretty much on the scrap heap over that time, because I'd lost my career as a social worker. And then on getting the diagnosis, the positive thing about it was that I kind of got my third career, really. because I was able to get involved in all this stuff and was able to find purpose in my life again. Sorry, Michael.
Oh, no, you're all right. All I was going to say was what Claire brought up about me and Franny, the same dementia. If you read the books, it's going to say PCA. This is the way it should be affecting you. This is what's going to happen. But that's a prime example of me and Franny. It affects us in different ways, and yet it's the same dementia. So I'm seeing something different than what she is seeing. But if you read the books, it doesn't say that. According to the books, this is what we should be doing. So that's a good learning curve. Is actually getting people with the same diagnosis of dementia, and then you can find out there's changes in it. They've all not got the same symptoms.
And it's like looking at that, the title that we have for the MSc, Finding the Me in Dementia. And I remember a radio show I was involved in a couple of years ago now. And it was looking at, there were three of us ladies, three ladies, each living with young onset dementia and each living on their own. So you'd think professionally that people would look at that on paper and think, oh yeah, they're all the same. They all need treating the same. They all need the same level of support. Well, they didn't, because, there's myself who's living in England, and I don't have family involvement. I live on my own. And so my needs are very different, and my symptoms happen to be different from the other two ladies, but that was kind of my situation. But then a friend of mine, Anne, over in Northern Ireland, so living in a different part of the UK, and she was living on her own, but she still had a dependent child with her. She still had grown children, but she was the one bringing up her dependent child. And one severe thing for her was, oh my God, now I've got this diagnosis. Is someone going to come and take my child away from me? Because they won't trust me to bring her up. And then another of my friends who was actually involved in this, Agnes, and she's in Scotland. And then she was living on her own. She had had young onset for quite a few years. Although she was living on her own, her husband also had dementia. So they were having to live separate, even though they didn't want to, because of their competing needs. And because he was further along than her, she was actually his main carer, his main supporter. So it just shows you, just because you have different people with similar, supposedly, situations where very, very different people, everybody is an individual.
And I think that must bring that richness to the course, to the module, that it's not just in a book, it's not just this dementia, which will, like Michael said, it'll affect you in this way, bash, 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 bullet point, because it's so much bigger than that, isn't it? Yeah, if you know one person with dementia, you know one person with dementia. That statement is just so true, isn't it? I was a bit worried that I didn't have enough questions for this conversation. I've got about 10 written down that I've not even got to. But Julie, you did mention about training at the beginning. That, so we've talked a lot about the course. About research. So we talked a lot about the training. We talked about the module. We've talked about how that's been co-produced. And then you've also mentioned about research opportunities. And I feel like we're not given that enough light. So could we think a little bit more about the research opportunities that Julie and Michael have been involved in, if that's okay?
I think it's very, very much the way that research has been done in the past has very much been about researchers deciding what was to be the subject to be looked at, how it was to be looked at, and then if we were to be included, it will be very much tokenistic, really, from the point of view, maybe at some point they might ask someone like myself or Michael the odd question or two, and then that will be it. And now an increasing amount of research is done with regards to co-production. So we're involved in the design of what the research is going to be about, the actual content of it, what the research questions are going to be, and the way that those questions are going to be put, and also how that's all been going to be collated and shared out further with when the work comes to an end, and how it's going to be made use of. Do you want to come in here, Michael?
I just agree with you. I know when I started doing research, they were bringing you in midway through, so they'd already developed it, and then they would bring you in then. But now it's all changing. They're starting to bring you in from the very start. And it might be, how would we produce this? How would we ask questions? Uh, what's the best way to make it easier for people to understand? The only trouble is they might bombard you. They might come up with stuff and then give it to you and say, could you go through that and tell me if somebody with dementia would be able to understand it? So there is a lot of work involved in it as well. But it's actually good to be brought in at the very start.
Well, you're educating the researchers as well, aren't you? By saying that actually that's too much for me to read in one go, or that language is too academic. The research team are learning from yourselves as well. So again, it's win-win, isn't it? And I know that, one of the things we often do is ask people, what should we be researching? What do you want us to look at? What do you think people that don't know about dementia need to know? So thinking of the research questions, like Julie said as well.
And also before research meetings start, things like sending through pieces of work so we can look through it, familiarise ourselves with it before it appears on the screen in front of us, rather than just, be a piece of work we have to try and scan through. And particularly if someone has difficulty with, say, like Michael, that they might have a problem processing, seeing all that information on the screen, or even if someone without PCA, if a lot of slides are being used, lots of information on each slide, and you think, hang on, you're trying to get me to feed back quickly on all this information. It's too much. And if you'd have given me that beforehand, I could have had some notes made so that as we got to those pieces of information, I could be feeding in at various points.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's been a lot of learning and a lot of adaptations to people's skill set, and to make sure that everyone has like an equal voice and can contribute in a decent way, and not just a tick box way. Julie, have you got a piece of research that stands out that you're particularly proud of being involved in? It's a big question. I'm sorry.
I think probably a combination of this recent MSc module, and also actually the piece of research that first brought me to Bradford, which was the Angela project, which has gone on to be very influential since it was first published. That was financed, I think, by the Alzheimer's Society, and the Bradford University were one of the satellite groups. There was a base in London, wasn't there, Claire? And then Bradford was one of the 2 or 3 satellite groups.
Brilliant. Thank you, Julie. Michael, anything stand out for you? I mean, we've talked about lots of proud moments, but anything in particular you want to share?
I think this latest one, the module, but there was also one I was involved in that from the start, the NIDIS project between Bradford and UCL at London, which meant it was trips to London, and then they would come up to Bradford. So I think it was month about, wasn't it? 1 month we went to London, and then the next month they come to Bradford.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but it was actually a strange one because I wanted to call her Professor Marna Downs, and it was to do with carers, and I actually says to her, "Well, I don't have a carer. Should I be involved in this?" And she says, "Well, yes, because later on we need to know what you would want from a carer. You know, if you had a carer, what would you actually want from them?" So that's how I got involved. And that was from the very start. So that sticks in my head. But then I've been involved in that many. A lot of them I can't remember what I've done.
Well, there was Journeying Through Dementia, Michael, wasn't there?
Oh, yes.
That was a long one, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that Journeying Through Dementia actually changed me. Because without Journeying Through Dementia, I actually think I'd be in a care home now. Because it totally changed me.
Can you tell us how, Michael?
Well, without the Journeying Through Dementia, I didn't know anything about dementia. I didn't know what PCA was. They put me in a day centre, and they were more advanced with their dementia, and they would throw a beach ball and you had to catch it and say your name. And I used to think, I'm not 2-year-old, I shouldn't be in here. And then I was actually getting depressed. And the funny thing was, I used to walk to the centre, and then they locked you up from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You were locked inside, you couldn't go out. And then at 4 o'clock, I could walk at home again. And I thought, this isn't right. But they used to do their nut with me because I used to go around and try and find out how to get out. Because they actually says to me, you need to keep going there because there's a part in the home where people was staying there. You know, they were there permanent. And it says later on, you could finish up having to be in here. So I used to go around to try and find out how to escape. And I used to check for security on the windows. And I'd find, you know, the keypads for the doors. And then it finished up. They used to have to keep changing the pads because they would find me out in the garden. And I actually thought, if I stay in here, I'm going to finish up in here permanent. But they done their nut. There was another bloke there, was ex-army, and he had just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. They used to throw the beach ball, and me and Ernie started playing football. And Ernie kicked the ball, and he knocked this big mirror off the wall. And they said that both of us, we're going to have to keep you two away from each other because you're a bad influence on the other people. But the other ones with dementia were laughing their heads off at us. They actually thought we were two comedians.
Oh, amazing. I could stay on here for a lot longer. But I'm very conscious that people who have come along are expecting it to finish now. Well, in fact, they probably expected it to finish 4 minutes ago. There's a comment from Karen. Normally we have questions. We haven't had time for questions because we've just been chatting, and that's been amazing. Karen has said, I love the fact that those living with dementia firsthand have been involved in all aspects of input, of compiling the course material, tweaking it to suit the needs of participants of the group. It's fab. So that's from Karen. And, you know, it's easy for me to say this is inspirational, but honestly, it truly is inspirational. It feels pioneering. It feels like you know, you'll inspire change from other universities and from other organisations who need to take co-production seriously and not just have it as an add-on at the end of a project and go, yep, we involve people affected by dementia. So huge thank you, Michael, Claire, Julie, Jackie. I'm sorry about the Wi-Fi, and Ronald. Can we do this again next year, Claire? Can we have another one so we can get Ronald on and Jackie?
I think we should. And yeah, but just before we finish, I'd just like to give a shout out really to Ronald, because I know that he's not been shown at all today. And Ronald was really nervous before he started working with us. And he used to say to me, I'll come on the Zooms, but I'm not going to say anything. And then I would get a bit braver and say to Ronald, can I just ask you? And I'd ask him a question. And his answers were gold dust. And Ronald has been working one-to-one with a student with disabilities. He's been acting as a personal academic tutor. I mean, that's amazing. And they're working really closely together on Zoom. She's hearing impaired, and they're just an amazing duo learning together. Who says that people with dementia can't, you know, learn new things and don't have skills? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it sort of comes back to what you said, Julie, that this is your third career, which I think, you know, what a way to end it on, that that positivity, and we've talked about it throughout the chat today, that positive approach to living with dementia. But for you to say it's my third career, I think that's just fantastic. Really amazing. So I'm going to let you go. I'm sorry about the few hiccups. I hope it was okay. We've had a fantastic conversation. I've learned so much about your work over at Bradford. We've had a few comments. Amanda said, this is brilliant. I really enjoyed this webinar. Thank you so much. I love your free spirit, Michael. You are truly inspirational. I think she's talking about escaping and playing football. And Phil said, brilliant work. Great to hear about what you're doing. It really is. Can we please definitely do this again in the new year, if that's okay?
Love to.
All right. Thank you all so much. Someone else, I said, thank you all. Really enjoyable session. All right. I'm going to end it now. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Oh, we have to say Merry Christmas. It's that time, isn't it? We have to say Merry Christmas now. I hope you all have a lovely festive season, and definitely see you again in 2024.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.